Jareth. The 260Z is officially back home. Went and got it last Saturday. That's now the following Saturday. And just been working on the car as I have the time. I've actually been helping out a friend with her Corvette and that kind of stuff this week, and also just working my full-time job. But I've jumped back on this car and I've started installing a few things here. First of all, you can see I've started putting in some of the rubber pieces for the little lids for the accessory panels, the bump stocks for the hood, as well as the doors. I've also installed our door latches here. And of course the doors are still gutted. I've got to assemble all that. But also I've installed the wiring harness from the 280Z 2+2 I've got. So like I said earlier, when I started this project, the 2+2 is basically going to be the soul of this car. So even though it's a 260, it's going to be 280Z guts pretty much, 76. But I got our harness ran through the B-pillar all the way up to the quarter. We got our defrost wires pulled, our dome light wire, as well as our other defrost, rear defrost wire. And I've also got a wire there for the the hatch dome light. There's actually a switch that's on the hatch of the 280Z 2+2. I may try to do something with that. So we're going to do that. But once again, our door latch here, our bump stop for this door. Same thing on the driver's side door. And I put this emblem on there. That was a big mistake because I probably spent more time looking at that emblem than working on the car. But I also installed the rubber pieces here for our gas lid. When I reinstall it, it won't actually touch the paint. Rear rudder lights are installed. Got the harness, of course, ran all the way from the rear quarter. That's where it actually comes out. You can see where it comes out there. It goes down, goes to a grommet there. Here's our tail light wiring. Got our ground connection here, as well as our harness here that runs out to our actual tag light right there. It's where the tag light will plug in. And it goes on around, goes to another grommet, and it actually ends at our power antenna wiring. So I've got it actually pulled over here. Got our speaker connection wires there. I've also installed some brand new pieces for the trunk lid here. The rubber pieces there. This white you're seeing, that's just from wet sanding. It's just residue from the wet sanding when Matt was doing all the body work and final cutting on the clear coat. We got all that. Got our some of our rubber plugs in here for our rear, as well as our plugs in our tire well. The only thing I've got to modify on this car is I've got the harness right here that goes to the fuel pump in the tank sending unit. And this is where the difference is on the 260, early 260s and the 280s. If you look at our rear quarter here, right down here, you can see this has a floor in it like a 240. Well, the late 260s into the 280s actually had a back cover on the rear quarters all the way down. So this was actually hollow all the way down because it had a wall on the back side. And this wire here originally ran down through there. You can kind of see how this is contoured for that opening in the back. So it actually dropped down through there, go through the inside of the quarter, and then run along the inside. This one here, it actually runs to this hole right here, and I've got to widen this hole just a hair to get our connectors to fit. Of course, I've got to put a grommet on there as well. But that's the only modification I've really got to do to the rear harness. Everything else went in place pretty well. And I still got our old piece of harness here. Like I said, the harness in this car was cut up. That's the whole reason I'm even doing this with a 280, because all this harness was just cut. So I've still got the rear harness here. I can't get it out of this quarter, so I just left it in there and got that wire ran. That's from the 2+2. But did that, and then I've started running the fuel rails. I'll go back around here and show you this real quick. I'll shut this door real quick here. We'll go back around here and you can see I've started installing all of our fuel and brake rails going to the back of the car. I've still got to adjust all the mounts and stuff, but it's going to look really good. It's going to look really good. Got our air conditioning stuff out of the 2+2. Going to clean up our condenser really good. Clean the lines up. New dryer. The hoses are actually still good. I did put a vacuum on this, and it held vacuum great. So I know it's not leaking or anything, which is really good news. I can reuse that. Probably get new rubber hoses. They're actually still pretty pliable, but since we're redoing this car, I might as well. But ordered some new rubber. This is all the rubber pieces for the fuel rails and stuff. And I'll get on the car and show you what that looks like from underneath for those that are curious. But I'm cleaning up our lines, getting our brake lines and everything. I still got some of those to run. This is your rear where it tees off. This is the rear wheel cylinders. But making progress, making good progress here. Very exciting. And I will say there's something about when you see a car at somebody's shop and then you finally have it back home, it's a different perspective. I still kind of pinch myself thinking that this is actually my car. It's pretty hard to take in just how it is sitting here in the garage. But let me go in the car. I'll show you these lines and how they look under the car real quick. Alright, we're now laying under the car here, which is kind of a weird place to record. But I'll show you how these fuel rails run. So I got them all ran down here. They run along the inside of the transmission tunnel, like so. Now this is very much like a 240, like I say. In the early 260s, or basically a 240, just with some revisions for the different tail lights and different dashboard. But it's a split gear car, so the early 240s are like, the early 260s are like 240s. The late 260s are basically the early version of the 280. So the body is very much, got the bigger bumpers and everything going on. The only thing also that separates this really from a 240, like a 73 240, is it has shocks on the bumpers, where the 240s did not. So that's another change. But anyways, you can just kind of see how these run. So they run along the inside of the transmission tunnel. I've got only rubber pieces for the supports. This is actually what I was waiting on, these little rubber things here I had to order. Got those from Resurrected Classics. So I ordered those for our 240. They seem to be working pretty good so far. They run down, and that's how it looks underneath the car. But once again, you can see just how clean. This car is in really good shape. Of course, Matt's done a really good job putting this undercoating on it. It's actually bed liner. I like how he made this seam right here. It's actually inside the transmission tunnel, and of course there's our firewall. Really cool stuff here. So coming from the transmission tunnel right here, I'm going to just kind of show you the best I can. There's our emergency brake. Here's the front of our differential. And there's one of our other rubber mounts for our fuel rail, and it goes on down. You can see there's a little block that mounts against the framework of the back. Of course, you can see I don't have the brake line hooked up back here at the T yet. That's how that goes. And I'll take you on down here. I'll show you where it comes out at here, just to kind of show you. Doing this the best I can because I know there's not a lot of documentation on these rubber mounts. So I'm just going to follow this out. Now, of course, like I say, it's looking at, I'll slide back this way. I got the light kind of propped up in the differential area. But this is our differential, connection there. I'll come back down the tunnel. Emergency brake, that's where it comes in. Right there. Of course, I got the arm. It would look kind of like this right here under the car if the emergency brake was in here. That's kind of what it looked like. And this is your actuator there. I'll bring you on down here, and I'll show you the rest of this car. Let me get on down here real quick. Also, that's where your emergency brake cable runs. That little hook. That's actually what keeps your emergency brake cable out of your half shafts. Right there. And there's your two fuel lines that come out there, still on there. Just got to take those off there, but once again, you can kind of see how that line runs. There's that hook for our emergency brake. Runs on down here. And we've also got a little line right here. If I can get my light over here. So it comes out, it fastens to the actual frame there. You can see that's your fuel lines. You can see the back of them there. Comes out there, and it runs over here. And And this is the evaporative line right here. It's a little smaller line, and it's going to actually run to a tube that runs through the frame here, and it runs right up here to this hole right here. And of course that's where your fuel neck and everything comes out. But anyways, just want to document that for you guys. I know there's not a lot of documentation on these fuel rails in the back. I wanted to kind of show you how that works. So one of these lines will be your return, one of them will be your feed. Of course your fuel pump bracket goes right here. And a 260 will be a pulse pump because it actually has a rear pump back here as well, plus a mechanical pump. But since I go with 280, it's going to be the electric, just the actual vane pump for this car. But anyways, just a good look at that. Of course, I got the differential and everything back in this car. It's an R200 rear end that you guys have seen earlier in my videos that me and my dad restored. All the suspension work. But anyways, just want to document that for you real quick as well. And just to show you right quick, now we're looking at my 2+2. You can see how this one doesn't have that floor I was talking about. It runs all the way down in the rear quarter. Of course, the fuel neck changed. It became a metal fuel neck held in with 4 screws. There's our evaporative tank. That's where that little line will go that I showed you under the car. It'll actually run to one of these. It tucks inside the quarter there. So now looking at the 2+2 here, the 280, you can see that's where our fuel pump bracket went. We run on down. You can kind of see that hose works exactly the same way. It kind of runs around, tucks in there, goes up to there. But here's where our difference is. So here's our filler neck, but there's actually a back wall on this quarter. It's not just the quarter, the single quarter panel. It's actually got this back wall. And right there is where our fuel harness came out, where our fuel pump and sending unit harness came out right there. I just want to show you that real quick. And of course there's our shock absorbers. I'll be probably taking these out of this car and cleaning these things up. I may put them back in the 260 from this car if they fit. I don't know if they actually fit or not. Still got some research to do on that. But anyways, here's a good look at the old 2+2. Like I said, I'm going to miss this car, but at the same time we got a really nice car ahead of us. And here's what the shock absorbers look like on the outside for those that are curious what I'm talking about. This is what the bumper mounts onto, and basically they're actual shock absorbers. So if you have impact, they'll actually be driven in, you know, kind of protecting the body and protecting shock on the driver. But anyways, there's the 2+2. Of course you can see I'm using it still as storage. I've got a bunch of stuff. So there's a fuel cell up there I bought. And yeah, it's a sad car. But I'm going to try to, you know, save as much as I can off this car. Like I say, the only reason I'm doing this is because this car has got major rust in that back seat area. And this car, I mean, it wouldn't take much to break it in half, honestly. There's not much holding it together. It's rust out in the weirdest spots. But when you compare that car to this car, what a difference. But there'll be some more updates on this car here very soon. I appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned for more.